Well, welcome to another edition of GW Unspoken, where we discuss stuff we don't typically talk about, but probably should. And tonight we're talking about showcasing ways for teenagers to engage with their communities and maybe foster a sense of belonging. So we're up to season 3 and episode 6. So how can we do that? How can we actually showcase ways for teenagers to engage with the community? It's a tough one, isn't it? There's a lot of bad press out there. There's a lot of people who are... This is how the podcast started, actually. We actually the whole goal was to get parents back to their kids and kids back to their parents. We know that teenagers are such a prime time when our neural pathways are growing and building, and we naturally have that pushback, and we challenge things about our parents. So we don't necessarily believe that what they're saying is true or real. And for those parents out there, you know what I'm talking about. You know, you can tell your teenager something and then they don't believe you. Then suddenly someone else tells them something that's the same thing and they believe them. It's like, what? Okay. All right. So that was the whole idea of the podcast, was to bring those connections back. But it's so much bigger than that now, because we've had some guest speakers in, and there's been people reaching out who are teenagers. Students as young as 11 and 12 are tuning in now and getting some social emotional wellbeing regulation skills and communication connection skills with their friends. I've had some corporates contact us, and it's just been fantastic. And I just think the power really is the listeners taking this on board and I guess thinking about how they're going. And I'm just so grateful for the listeners out there, but also our amazing guests who come in and share their story, who often something resonates with a lot of people out there. So I just want to thank those guests and the ones who are coming up also. So let's talk quickly about community and culture and how we can showcase ways for teenagers to, get outside themselves. Maybe is it a selfish time? Is our teens like that these days? For those teens who are out there, you're probably sick of parents saying, when nowadays we never used to do that. We used to have respect, or we used to get flogged, if we acted a certain way. But what is it? There seems to be a lot of entitlement around, and can we blame technology on that? Parents out there, can you think about, are you actually giving your kids a lot of quality time? When we do the love languages quiz at work, there's a lot of kids who come back with out of the 5 love languages from Gary Chapman, it's quality time. It wins every single time. And I'm wondering, is it because they're not actually getting it, because parents these days often either single parent or living with Nana or both parents are still together, both are often working just to get by. So are kids actually just craving that quality time, so that's what they want? I'm not sure. But I think that for teenagers, because the strongest thing for teenagers are their peers, that togetherness is so keen. It's so important for them. So if they can do things together to actually even, buy in and do some even community engagement, it's going to give them a sense of belonging. Or even if 2 people or 3 people get together in a group and they're fairly close friends and they go out and do something like a sport or a youth group, those associations can be so strong, and that can foster a sense of belonging. And remember, belonging gives us our true authentic self. And when we're our true authentic self, we actually don't have inner conflict with ourselves. So we probably feel better about ourselves. And when we feel better about ourselves, we're going to feel better towards anything or anyone we engage with. So it makes sense. What about our teens volunteering? I know at work and at school, there's a lot of people who volunteer and give up their time for charities and things. And the feel good to get from that is amazing. I remember when the kids were young and we were doing Easter, and a lot of times we'd go around and get lollies and that kind of stuff, and we can get many with the kids. And I remember this one time I was alone with the girls, and I said, right, this time, and they must be really young, like 2 and 4. And I said, this year, we're just going to give out Easter lollies. And they were so young. What do you mean? And so what we did, we got a heap of lollies, and we put them in little tiny plastic cups, and we had them near the door. There's about 24, 25 cups. And when people knocked on the door, I actually got the kids to go and give a cup to each of the people walking around. Back then, there wasn't 1,000 people knocking on the door in half an hour, but you should see their faces. They'd go back and sit on the couch with me and watch a bit of TV or something, and next thing someone knock on the door and they'd screaming so happily, and they'd run down, and I'd open the door with them and I'd give them. And at the end of it, we actually had other kids actually giving the girls lollies because they felt it was gratitude back. And it was just amazing. And the girls will never forget that, about how they could give and how it feels good for them to give. So I think also the kids having a purpose and passion, and the character strengths quiz from VIA is great with that. It can find out what their 24 values are, or the things that they have for their purpose and passion. And when you look at those character strengths, the top 5 can obviously shape the kids and where the direction they might want to go. And sometimes it gives them some real focus, because a lot of us are lost at that age. I think that service to others, when we ran a sports academy, I remember the kids were involved with gym in the morning, and they do a bit of their relative sport. So I was in charge of rugby league academy. They do footy. And then we'd have guest speakers on a Friday, and we'd have a community barbecue to bring people together. We'd do yoga. We'd do some business diploma. And I still remember, out of the whole year, I'd interview kids and say, these are 16 to 25-year-olds, so not necessarily kids, but, teenagers to young adults. What was the most important part of that program? And they'd say, as 80% of them said, it was coaching and refereeing the wheelchair rugby, sir. I'm like, what do you mean? And I said, it was just so good to see that they weren't an able body like us, but they were still human. We actually realised they were real people, and we actually gave back to them, and their faces just was amazing. And I think we all have that. We all have that service to others. When we actually do it, we actually feel good. I think also when we talk about service to others, even people who are less fortunate than us, the underprivileged, I think there's a lot of dopamine can be taken from or received from our teens who actually help out for people who are underprivileged. So people who aren't lucky enough to have the things that we have, the basic things, the basic needs. Get our teens out to give out, soup or food for people who don't have those privileges. Maybe go down to a nursing home and spend a day once a week and build a bond with an elderly person in there. And it just builds again that gratefulness of what they do have, but also that they're a loyal friend to someone else new. And I think having that buy-in is really important. Having that buy-in to get kids to want to be with their communities in maybe in an area that they like. And yeah, it's getting out of their comfort zone, but guess what? Here's a little secret. That's where all success is. Otherwise, you just become 90% of what everyone else is. So getting their buy-in, getting out of their comfort zone to maybe go and help others. I think a good way to do that too might be just whatever the pop culture is at the moment. And the latest 2-year survey is when they've said to kids or teenagers, what's the most important thing, to help support people of your generation. It used to be mental health. Now it's the environment. So environment number 1, mental health, supporting positive mental health is number 2. So maybe there's a way we can get our kids in, helping out, cleaning up the environment, taking people out on walks in the environment, helping mental health awareness. I know soon we're going to do the push-up challenge too that raises awareness of mental health. Got a couple of really good senior leaders there helping out with that and driving that, and just getting their buy-in to say, I'm going to own this. This is going to be cool. And then because these 2 leaders got obviously more power as connections with other teens, they're going to listen to them more than me. So it's just leadership. They're just growing in leadership too, which is fantastic. So, join a club. What about joining a club? What about joining a sports club or an art club or music club, dance club, gymnastics club? There's so many things that our kids can do to, engage within their community and have that sense of belonging and focus. And even people who are, 14, 15 now these days can get a job, and they can, learn people skills, learn community service skills. And the reward is way more than the dollars, because they're going to, if you can have customer service skills and good communication skills, especially conflict resolution and having a positive attitude and mindset, that's going to set people up for life, whether in their own personal relationships, but also out in the real world in the workforce. So look, I just think there's so many things that our teenagers can do. There's so many ways we can showcase to them some role modelling of how they can improve their community and also the culture. And they can also foster a sense of belonging within that community based on those things. Look, there's so many positives that our teens can do. They are our future. I just think we need to be on their side, talk to them, actually get with them and actually find out what is their passion and purpose. And we can find that. I think we can help, especially in the way of tailor-making that towards them, helping and serving others within the community. Thank you for listening. I hope that's made a difference. I hope that you can take that back to your homes. And teenagers who are listening out there, love your feedback to see if that's something you get into, because I'd love to guide you in that as well. And thank you for listening to GW Unspoken.